So I've been asked recently by some newer players, how do I fly both loaded and unloaded effectively? How do I re-enter the atmosphere without plummeting into the ground and dying in a big old fiery ball of death? I've also seen some videos of people flying that I was like, oof, you should take some lessons. Well, I got something you're going to want to take a look at. Let's check it out. All right, welcome to my Sky platform, Sky City, whatever. I have a bunch of ships up here. Some I use often, some I use for very specific reasons, and there's some other ones up here that I just have them because I like them, and they're landing pad queens, and they don't move. That's beside the point. When we talk about flying, I mean, every ship has a purpose, right? The one ship I'm going to talk about today, really for no other reason than it's the one I use the most for hauling pretty much anything, whether it's going between planets or around the atmosphere. That's the Horizon by Captain's Customs here. It's a 10 large container hauler on one hub, and then you've got 2 large containers on another hub. It has uncommon military atmospheric, uncommon military XL space engines. It's actually very fuel efficient for what it does and what it can do. Let me, run up the ramp properly here. The cockpit is up here. I've kind of modified it slightly. I took off the transparent screens and put on regular screens. There is still a bug where the transparent screens just show up white. I added a VR pod just so I could go back to my base if I'm off planet, whatever. Up on top here, we all know what the Horizon looks like. I've got it custom embroidered, branded, stamped, whatever you want to call that. Anywho, we're going to talk about how to fly this thing, and really the same principles are going to apply towards any ship you fly. This is just the ship I fly the most, and I'm very comfortable with it, and hopefully we don't need a bunch of scrap by the end of this. Okay, so we're down on the ground level. We were up there. That's 1,100 meters up. And down on the ground level here, some things to note in the upper right-hand corner for newer players. You have your current altitude. Right now we're at 53 meters off the ground. Atmospheric percentage is at 98%. So the higher you go, the less atmosphere. That means the less thrust your atmospheric engines are going to have, and the less braking power your atmospheric brakes will have. So I'm going to cheat a little bit and get up on top of my ship using build mode. And then we have our current speed, which if I'm walking right now, it's 11 kilometers an hour. And then we have the weight, or gravity rather, of the planet, and that's 1G. There are planets that are lower. There's nothing higher than 1G, at least at present, at the time of making this video. I'm going to activate, actually I do have my screen activated here. So we have the time, damage, fuel, both atmospheric and space fuel tanks. I'm very comfortable flying this ship. So taking off here, I love using orbital HUD, and this is actually one of the iterations before Arch took it over entirely. So this one's a little bit old, but it still works. However, as you notice there, my atmospheric and space fuel tanks do not give an accurate readout. I don't understand what that bug is. I don't really care because I use this screen anyway, and if I could get rid of that, I would. I'm sure I could if I just go in the parameters. Anyway, let's talk about taking off. With this particular HUD, as I hit insert to go into a kind of a third person view, I've seen some videos where people just throttle up and they're like, oh, and your adjusters start to do stuff. You start to drag across the ground. And if you do it with enough weight or you go fast enough, you will start destroying elements. It's kind of comical to watch. Sometimes I actually do it for fun because why not? To take off, we hit G. And that either raises a landing gear if it's there. I don't have a landing gear, but it will put us onto our vertical boosters, which keep us hovered. Right now, let's see, 53, basically 30 some odd meters above the ground. Several ways you can take off. You can, let's get away from that building so I don't blast right into it. We're going to turn. You could, in theory, just throttle up and then wait until you hit a good sustentation speed and then take off this way. I have the throttle limit set to 1,050 kilometers an hour. As far as landing goes, we can just hit G and this thing will slowly bring itself down. That's going to take a while. So let's just release that and free fall back to the surface. And I'll hit the brake at the last minute. There we go. So now we're holding again on vertical boosters above the water. If I wanted to go below the water, I could actually just hit C and hold it. And we would go down below the water, but I'll let go and above we go again. My favorite way of taking off, whether I'm loaded or unloaded, I just like to get the brake engaged, pitch this thing up, roll the throttle up, and once I've got some decent atmospheric engine warm-up, release the brake, and we will take off like a rocket. We can do a barrel roll, which I love to do. Whatever, we can spin all the way around. There we go. And we're rocketing towards space. As you can see, we're already at 3,000 meters. We're going to exit the atmosphere pretty quickly. We have no load. This thing has tons of power. It's a 2 kiloton, 2.2 kiloton ship, fully fueled. Space engines are kicking on. We'll begin to pick up speed and we'll begin leaving Alioth. As far as returning to, let's just get the brake engaged. I'm gonna head back towards my base. Actually, let's lock onto a construct here real quick. That way we've got a point of reference, as it were. Okay, so we're already 12 kilometers away from my base. This thing's got enough brake power to essentially hold this thing nearly dead stop in the air. How I like to re-enter, depending on the load, if I know that the lift capability, the high altitude lift capability, which you can find by going into, that's not the atmospheric. I think you have to be in build mode to see that. We can look at that later. I like to roll the throttle up. I actually like to go into cruise control by hitting Alt R, and that's, I think, the same with the stock HUD, but I'd like to get this up to 1,050. Get my rate of entry right at about -30. And we're going to start to hit what it thinks is the atmosphere. The atmosphere really doesn't start here until about, I don't know, 4,000 meters or so. Anyway, so we're going, there it goes, 4,500, whatever. So as we start to hit the atmosphere, you'll see that little thingy come up in the center. That means we are now on lift. And back in, nice and easy. We could pull up if we wanted to, or we can come in for a landing. And to land, you can do it one of two ways. You could just get close to your destination, hit G above, and it will bring you down slowly. Or if you wanted to kind of glide in, you can. We're going to overshoot the land. We'll slow our rate of descent. We're at 100. And once we see our vertical boosters, we know we have reached land, or the surface anyway. And then we can basically just come to a stop. So let's talk about what we do under load. I'm going to cut here and I'll be back in a moment. Okay, let's talk about how to take off and land while completely loaded. I have 1 million liters of Kurgan X1 space fuel in my storage here, which is 4.5 kilotons. This is a fully boosted set of containers though, so I do get a weight reduction bonus off of that. This would typically, I think, be about 6 kilotons. So we're saving what, 1.5 kilotons? Math, it's hard, whatever. Previously unloaded, we were at just what, 2.1 something or other kilotons. Now we're at just under 6.6. This ship is going to behave and function quite a bit differently when fully loaded. So let's go ahead and roll our throttle up. We're going to pitch up slightly because loaded, even though I've got what, level 4 piloting skills across the board, I still need to give my ship time to react. So we're going to take off. I'm going to keep a rate of ascent at about 30. And in fact, where are we at here? We're at 27. I'm going to pitch it up just a little bit more. There we go. There's 30. I'm going to lock that pitch in using Alt 5 with this particular HUD. So we are locked in at a 30-degree rate of exit, just to give the ship plenty of time to keep speed up, to let my space engines warm up. You're going to see, look, we're even starting to drop our ability to hold the atmosphere, but the space engines are kicking on. We're going to start to speed back up here. You can see my rate of ascent is now at a negative rate. However, space engines are kicking on. And hopefully, if all goes well, you'll see that rate of ascent start to climb. There we go. Now we've got space engines on. Positive. Rate of ascent there. And as we begin to climb out of the atmosphere, I'm going to shut the pitch lock off now that we've got full thrust. I'm just going to pitch this thing because I'm crazy like that. We got 45 degrees. I could probably hold it for a little bit longer. We still have 11 meters a second, 12 meters a second going up. There we go. I'm not worried so much about the burn. I mean, look, if I really wanted to kind of butter this thing, I could. I could let the speed increase a little bit more. I'm going to disregard that stall warning. I know that I'm going to get out of the atmosphere. We've got the little star things flying. That means we're going over 2,000 kilometers an hour. And again, this is a lot of weight to try to leave a 1G planet with on out of a ship it's capable of it, but requires a little finesse. So here we go. We've now left atmosphere. We're going into space. Speed's increasing. And we're pretty much home free. So we could let this thing go, you know, faster and faster and really jump out of atmosphere. But let's talk about how to re-enter. Is it possible to re-enter? Let's shut our engines off. We'll come to a stop here. It's going to take a little bit. It's a lot of weight and not a lot of brake force. Well, I mean, there's a fair amount of brake force, but when it's empty versus full, a definite difference. Here we go. Slowing down. I'm just going to go and angle myself into that negative kind of 30-ish rate of entry. And there's actually enough brakes on this thing. It should hold me pretty well once we get to a stop. Yeah, there we go. I mean, we're pretty well stopped. Take the brake off, roll the throttle up. Let's maintain that 1050. There we go. You hear the space engines kind of whirring on. Gonna start to re-enter. Not a lot of saving grace ahead of us other than that water that's right there, but there's some land. Worst case, we can bail if we don't grab the atmosphere like I hope we do. And we'll just hit G. Gonna get to that 1050-ish mark. Start to re-enter the atmosphere. 6.6 kilotons. We're just shy of -30 pitch. So here we go. Let's see what happens as our airfoils begin to grab. Are we just going to plummet into the ground? Or do we need to bail? And the answer is, we're going to need to bail. So let's just go ahead and hit G. It should slow us down enough. It gave us enough time to let our atmospheric brakes do the work. And look, there's no shame in just bailing on a re-entry like that. And if this were land, we would have landed safe and sound. That's how you do that. And there you have it. Some general tips and tricks for piloting both loaded and unloaded, re-entering the atmosphere, and just keeping yourself from utilizing a big old pile of scrap. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe. It helps me out. It helps me bring more videos like this to you. And until next time, fly dangerous. We'll see you around.